Donald Trump is laughing at you while he collapses the stock market and potentially enriches himself and all his billionaire cronies. Welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance. So if you haven't noticed, since the start of Donald Trump's term as the president of the United States, the stock market has basically gone down almost in a vertical line. The market does not like everything that Trump is doing, and the share prices of all the stocks in the US index are reacting accordingly. And funny enough, international stocks, the pieces of trash, garbage that nobody likes, are actually significantly outperforming this year. And I hope that continues. But, before you get outraged at Donald Trump and the Trump administration, because there's a lot of clownery going on, there's a lot of drama, and there's a lot of propaganda swirling around, I just want you to step back and consider what's happening. So Trump is trying to reinvent the American empire. He's trying to reinvent America because he believes our country has been weak, it's been taken advantage of, and he sees a lot of problems in the government sector. Why does he see problems in the government sector? Well, if you haven't checked the data, if you just only look at the stock market, you may not realize that the federal government is packing on a ton of debt every year because we collect less in taxes than the government spends. And over time, what that does is that raises concerns about the viability of the US government to pay off its debt. Now, obviously, the central bank can always just buy treasuries, but that would cause inflation. But eventually, you have to kind of sit back and say, is this sustainable? Can the US government continue to borrow and borrow and borrow and spend way more than it collects? And if that can't continue, what's going to happen? Well, number one, government debt can easily crowd out the private sector, okay? So far, we've been fortunate where, we have a lot of buyers of government treasuries. A lot of people are piling money in, including me. And there's also been significant foreign investment in treasuries. Now, most treasuries are actually owned by U.S. institutions, U.S. investors, and intra-government debt. But there is a significant inflow of treasury buying by foreigners. And the problem is that if the demand starts to taper off, both from foreigners and from the market in general, people start to get concerned. Well, the federal government has to basically offer higher interest rates on the debt that they issue in order to entice investors. And the higher the rates, the more the debt spiral of the government continues, because the government has to pay the interest, and then they have to borrow to pay the ever increasing interest. So you have this basically death spiral of debt that could potentially happen, especially if something changes and people around the world and institutions aren't as attracted to treasuries as they were in the past. It's all basically just a sentiment thing, okay? So we want people to continue to buy treasuries. We want interest expense for the government to go down. Now, the problem is the spending. So what Trump is doing is he's saying we need to massively splash government spending. We need to stop this death spiral, this debt bomb that is silently, or actually loudly, building in the United States. So he has his methods of sending Elon Musk in and firing a bunch of people at agencies, cutting contracts, ignoring courts, and taking decisive executive action to address this issue. And I 100% support this. I think it's a fantastic thing, what he's doing. Because regardless of whether you like his methods or not, regardless if you think it's illegal, look at the section 565 of the federal code. You can't fire people that sit on their butts and do nothing in the government. The intentions behind it are actually good. And the net effect, regardless of how it's done, the net effect of reducing government spending is actually positive for the United States because the path we're on is unsustainable. So stop getting lost in the weeds. Stop looking at crying babies or, tear-filled federal employees or all the propaganda that you hear. The ends, in this case, justify the means because reducing our spending is paramount. We are in trouble. Now, in the short term, the market's not going to like this because the market, I believe, has been propped up by massive deficit spending. I believe the U.S. stock market is kind of in a bubble, okay? It's basically fake. The whole economy's been propped up by massive stimulus and deficit spending by the U.S. government. And when the stocks start to sell off because they see the gravy train start to taper off, people start to get panicky. They start to get pissed because they like to see their portfolios go up and to the right at all times. People have this insane short-term mindset that, their stocks just have to constantly be going up. And when stocks start to sell off, even if it's just short-term pain, people get upset and they start to get mad at Trump. And I'm here to tell you, even if it causes short-term pain, it's actually bullish for America. And I'm saying this as an international shill and Chinese spy. It's actually bullish for America to massively reduce the deficit, experience pain in the short term, so that you have a more sustainable government in the long run that doesn't start to crowd out the private sector. Okay, this is a good thing. Stop getting upset about short-term pain in the stock market. If things continue as they are, the government just continues to run massive deficits. Oh yeah, stocks will go up for maybe another couple of years. You'll get your vertical lines and you'll get your 45-degree angles. But the eventual bomb in the future, if we don't address this issue now, I think will be catastrophically worse. It's kind of like watching Khmer. Khmer, he just constantly doubles down, and he keeps getting bailed out and bailed out and bailed out, and he keeps throwing more money and more money at the problem, but eventually he's going to explode, and it's going to be catastrophic. It's the same concept with government spending and the stock market, okay? So stop freaking out that your U.S. stocks, bro, are selling off. Maybe we'll have a vicious recession. Maybe we'll have a bad few years of U.S. stocks. Maybe we'll have a flat decade. But if your horizon is long enough and we address all the spending problems that we have with the government, which are serious, they're huge, it will actually be a good thing for the United States. The rest of the world, at least most countries, especially in Europe, have been more austere, okay? They've been more austere with their government spending. They have like caps on how much they can spend. And while that has not helped their stock market very much, they're actually in a better position to do stimulus and to issue a bunch of debt in the future if they need it. Look at the Germans, okay? They actually have a pretty tight ship when it comes to government debt. They have a lot of leeway. America doesn't have that leeway anymore. We already have a huge debt as a percentage of GDP. So if we had to fight a war now, a new war, or we had another crisis, well, guess what? The powder is not as dry. There's no backup because we're already in massive debt. So it needs to be addressed now. Even if it makes your stunks go down for a year or 2 or 3 or even 5. In the long run, I think you will have better long-term total returns if we address this government spending issue now. So if Doge actually accomplishes its mission, I would be bullish on America. I mean, I'm invested in America regardless, but I would be more bullish on America than if we kept up the charade of massive government deficits and, insane stock market returns, and then eventually have a huge, massive collapse in the future that utterly obliterates all the returns you had. So calm down. Stop freaking out about your stupid stonks going down. You're going to be fine in the long run, unless you're a freaking trading clown, okay? Let me know your thoughts. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is it good to have some pain now for long-term gain? Or is it just so devastating that government wall lickers are getting fired and that we're trying to address our government spending problem, even though it's not really working so far? But let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe. Check out the pinned comment. Book a free 30-minute tax consultation with me. I am a certified public accountant. I do business and personal taxes any state in the United States. You can talk to me for free. I give you upfront quotes, and I will prepare your taxes like a boss. Talk to you later.